Hello, my name is Brother Sean, and I would like to use this opportunity to try and voice my concerns over a situation which I observed yesterday evening on the BBC World News, and it's really looking at religious injustice. I may be wrong. I may be the one who's got it wrong and thinking differently to mainstream. But as one who truly tries to discern the mind of God through practicality and to try and work through some of the issues which seem to be taken for granted, such as religious injustice. And it manifests itself in so many different ways, but I would like us to just focus on one particular issue which really has caused me some disquiet. Now, I'm not on the bandwagon voting for gay rights. I'm not. But what I am saying is, where does God focus in religious injustice that takes the form of killing young men and women who happen to be of a different sexual orientation to mainstream society? Apparently, in Iran and in Iraq, and I would imagine in many Middle Eastern countries, there is a campaign to isolate, to segregate, and to kill unjustly any man or woman, a young man or woman who happens to be gay or lesbian. I was appalled when I even discovered that certain families, if they discovered they have a son or a daughter who defies the laws of the Quran, would be killed by their own family. And I listened to the Iraqi ambassador say about young men and women, if they don't dress appropriately and have their hair a certain length in a certain style approved by the police, that they will be punished. And I have a great respect for the Quran, as I do the Bible, and any sacred teaching. I may not be a scholar, but I do know that God is a loving God, that our Father, Mother, God Supreme, created every child of God in the image and likeness of God. And I know in my heart that God would not single out a young man or woman to be killed because they dare to be different. But this Iraqi ambassador was saying that homosexuality, whether it's male or female, they're not born with it. It's a behavior that's acquired. I went, oh dear Lord. And he was sat there, forgive me for being so unjust and judgmental, but in his pompous attitude, he was taking on board the role of God. It is my understanding that the only person who has the right to take life is the one who gives life, and that is God. And if we are made in the image and likeness of God, which I believe, then we're walking a very fine line, aren't we? That if we say that someone with one side of their face missing, or limbs missing, or who are mentally ill, that they're socially unacceptable and must be removed from mainstream. Sure, we had that in the Second World War, didn't we, before the war, where Hitler, God bless his soul, may he rest in peace, tried to create this super race. And look at what lengths he went to. The community that I joined as a young nursing monk was founded in Germany, and they're the world leaders in psychiatric care. Founded in Aachen, where the mother house is still there, going right back to the 14th century. Many of the young monks were also taken to the chambers because they tried to represent the marginalized, those who had no voice, those who were seriously mentally ill. And many of the hospitals were emptied by the Gestapo, and the children of God were taken to their death because they weren't considered suitable. And this is reenacting itself now today. And it's my belief that any religion which is created by man to reach God, it's not God-made, it's not God-given, that isolate and segregate any child of God as being unfit to live in their community because of race, color, or sexual orientation or disability, needs to be looked at in greater detail. And that for me is not a religious belief, that is a loving belief. And where in the Quran does the Holy Prophet Muhammad condemn? He doesn't. Where in the New Testament Bible does it condemn? It doesn't. It is we who've misinterpreted, as many evangelical Christians have misinterpreted the book of Leviticus and have used that as a weapon to segregate, to condemn, to annihilate the gay community. It's an abomination in the eyes of God. And if you who are watching don't approve of what I'm saying, I bless you. I don't condemn you. I won't have you segregated and destroyed. That program that I watched filled me with a great sense of sadness that today a society can carry out these killings unjustly in the name of Allah, in the name of God. I pray for their soul because they're not working within the mindset of a loving God. I truly believe they've stepped outside the mindset of a loving God. Let's pray for a more just and fair society where God's love is proclaimed, not the Old Testament wrath. We are a people created by God to love and to receive God's love. Let that love be the deciding influence and help us to try and see the I Am presence within every child of God, regardless of their lifestyle choices. Look what happened to the indigenous peoples in the world. In North America, look what happened there to the Red Indian. We regret it now. So let us not condemn young men and women who are following their heart to live a life that resonates with them, not on a whim or a fancy, and to try and take on board their mindset of how they live in fear of disappearing like many of their friends. Where is God in this decision-making process? Where is the love of God? And this frenzy, this uncaring attitude towards one's fellow man and woman, for me is an abomination. It is evil. It is evil to take another life based on the grounds of ethnicity, color, creed, race, sexual orientation, and destroy that life. I really fear that the world we live in today, that those behind the wheel, the machinery of implementing God's laws, are not implementing love. They're implementing fear. They chains the people of God from finding a God of love.